Broadcasting from here in the United States in the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia, Rob Conrad at the worldwide microphone of Heisnear.com. And the end time news events are lined up now and correlating perfectly with Bible prophecies for today's end times, which officially started in 1948 with the rebirth of Israel nearly 75 years ago this month in May 2023. And prophetically, I can say this, that as I speak, the foretold 7-year tribulation period is knocking on this generation's front door. And it's only by the mercies of a loving God that He is still holding things in place, maybe for a while longer. Why? In order for more people's eyes to snap open and to be saved in the Lord Jesus Christ. And so let me spotlight several major Bible prophecies that are foretold to occur right at the start of the 7 years, or will occur just after the 7-year tribulation starts. And you'll see clearly that these foretold Bible prophecy events are shaped up clearly in the news right now, confirming just how close this generation is to being thrust into the 7-year tribulation, which equates to the second judgment coming upon this earth. And here's a serious bottom line right off the bat, which is what Jesus Himself said about this final 7-year period, saying in Matthew 24:22 that unless those days were cut short, then no life would be saved. And that tells us that if Satan had his own way, then he'd kill every last human being on earth. And so Matthew 24:22 indicates that billions of people are about to die over this coming 7-year period. And the book of Revelation specifically confirms this, which I'll talk about that in a moment. Now here's several of many key prophecies shaped up now in plain view and pointing to the nearing start of the 7-year tribulation. First of all, in looking at the book of Revelation's chronology, then chapter 6 verses 1 and 2 show the start of the 7-year period with the rider on this white horse being Antichrist himself. That's Revelation 6:2. And importantly, Revelation's actual start of the 7 years correlates exactly with Daniel 9:27's prophecy, also referring to the start of this final 7-year period, with Antichrist also being spotlighted by Daniel the prophet. So Daniel 9:27 is actually the very next major end-time prophecy to keep an eye on, which is the very start of the 7-year period. In fact, the video on the welcome page of Heisnear.com with the Pope standing at Israel's western wall details this clearly, how soberingly close and set this end-time generation is now for the Pope and the designated 7-year period to start. Now importantly, and keeping in mind that each Pope is Antichrist and is one and the same man as Revelation's false prophet, then even if Pope Francis were to somehow step down from the papacy, maybe retire like Benedict XVI did, then that will not change at all this current spring-loaded scenario of the nearness to the start of the 7-year tribulation. Now the second prophecy I'll point to is Revelation chapter 6 verse 4, which is the red horse, and indicates the unimaginable bloodshed that will begin right after the 7-year tribulation starts. It states that a great sword was given to it, the red horse, that men should slay one another. And we're also told later in Revelation chapter 9, verses 15 and 18, that a third of mankind will die. That's exactly what it states, meaning over 2 billion people are soon to die just within the first 3.5 years of the coming 7-year tribulation. So this red horse prophecy itself, Revelation 6:4, is also knocking on this generation's front door. And of course, today in the news we see all sorts of tangible potential for this to occur, like with Russia's war in Ukraine, which could explode and even possibly go nuclear. And we also see the foretold Ezekiel chapter 38 all-out war on Israel's own mountains shaped up right now, with the Russians and Iran now having their military clout into Syria, with Russia's air bases in Syria, and with Russia's warships parked on Syria's coast, and literally just minutes away from northern Israel, which precisely correlates with Ezekiel 38, telling us that Russia and numerous Muslim nations will attack Israel, which will also occur. This Ezekiel chapter 38 all-out war in Israel will also occur within weeks or maybe a few months just after the start of the 7-year tribulation. So clearly, this major prophecy of Revelation 6:4's red horse bloodshed is spring-loaded, as today's news stories confirm, being unprecedented bloodshed worldwide and largely in the regions of the Mideast and Europe. And here's another key point about Revelation 6:4's red horse, as it also states in the same verse that peace is taken from the earth, which, although this sounds almost like a passing remark, it's actually a huge prophecy that peace is taken from the earth, meaning what I've stated, that unprecedented chaos and fear and billions of people dying will occur, and on a worldwide scale. And so that's Revelation 6:4's prophecy, which is unimaginable bloodshed and chaos and death are coming, and a lot faster than this ungodly and fallen world even knows. Now, this third major prophecy coming right after the 7-year tribulation starts is a worldwide economic collapse, and is signified in the third horse of Revelation, the black horse, Revelation chapter 6, verses 5 and 6. And the fact is that today's news stories show that today's worldwide economy and rigged financial markets and banks are clearly poised to collapse. And as I'm pointing out, today's global economic system, being on the verge of total collapse, is lined up simultaneously with other major prophecies, which together all point to the nearing nightmare of the very start of the tribulation. And right after the start of the tribulation, then this unprecedented global economic and financial collapse of Revelation chapter 6, verses 5 and 6, will cause immediate worldwide chaos and bloodshed as people worldwide struggle for food and to get money and even to survive. Imagine this. Suddenly the banks close, the automatic teller machines close, and no one can get their money. This will be a matter of survival at that point. No food and no money. This is what's coming just after the start of the 7-year period. And the chaos and crime will skyrocket immediately, which plays right into what I spotlighted before in the red horse of Revelation chapter 6, verse 4. Now, this fourth major prophecy will result from the first 3.5 years of the shock and awe of death and survival that will overwhelm this world. And that is the mark of the beast at the midpoint of the 7-year tribulation, which, with the nearing start of tribulation, could be almost as close as 3.5 years away. The mark of the beast, that is. And at that mid-7-year point is when the mark is enforced by Revelation's false prophet, the Pope of Rome, which is found in Revelation chapter 13, starting in verse 11, which profiles the mid-7-year point, with the second beast being the false prophet and his coming mark. And in fact, the next verse, Revelation chapter 13, verse 12, specifically identifies the false prophet himself as being the final world dictator, as it states, quote, "And he," meaning the false prophet, the Pope of Rome, "will exercise all the authority," not some of it. It says he will exercise all the authority. And again, this starts at the mid-7-year point and through the final 3.5 years. And it tells us in the same verse, Revelation 13:12, that the Pope's dictatorship will be fully backed by the first beast, which is the final one-world government beast that carries out all of the Pope's evil demands.